interview experience and the questions with Dubai Islamic Bank. Though it was on the payroll of a third party, as generally they hire on the contractual basis, but these are the questions and the areas that will going to help you in order to prepare for the interview. So one thing that I am specifically going to mention about these lecture series, please do note these questions are derived from our candidates who appeared in interview in various organizations, and it is not at all mandatory that same questions will be asked when you will appear in interview. It is totally based on your job profile for which you are applying. This could change from person to person, and the very idea of this series is to give you guys a direction and confidence to prepare and to crack interview for cloud. So I would advise you guys, don't focus more on exact interview questions that you are seeing currently on the screen. Rather focus on the areas from where it is being asked. Okay, so let's suppose if I talk about this question, right? So rather focusing on RTO and RPO, right? You should be aware of RTO and RPO, but at the same time, you should be aware of other concept as well. Like this is, this RTO and RPO comes, while we do the migration. This is related to the database, right? Okay. So these things also, the associated things, you should also be aware of, right? It is not like you are, remember just learning or memorizing what is RTO and RPO. No, that is not going to help you, right? Generally, what I have seen, right, and what I have got the feedback from my candidates, that they ask these questions like RTO and RPO, but yeah, focus on other areas as well, right? So let's start. Right. So this is my interview experience with the Dubai Islamic Bank. Right. I was I applied a job there as a AWS Cloud Migration Infra Engineer, and I appeared for the interview. Though it was on a contractual basis. Right. Generally they hire on contractual basis only, not on a permanent payroll. Right. And I appeared for the interview, and there was only one round, right? And the guy who was taking the interview, like he asked these questions, as far as I can remember, right? These were the questions that he asked, right? So let's start now. Right. So what is RTO and RPO? So first is this is the question that he asked, like what is RTO and RPO, and why, how much should be the RTO and RPO, right? So these things you should be aware of, like, and also like these things come into picture when you do the migration, right? Database migration, right? So it should be RTO and RPO should be a minimum, right? So do read about it, right? And then they asked, right, what is how you are going to uh, securely connect your application, right? From your own premises network, or how you are going to implement security on your application, right? So for this part, I would advise you. For this part, I would advise you, if you go to the AWS website, right, and there if you search AWS uh, security, or how to securely connect to your application. So you will find one article, and there are various things that is mentioned, right? How you can make your architecture more secure, like what are the security features that you can apply, like WAF, right? Like security groups, like network uh, rules, like policies. All those things are very well mentioned there. Do read about that article, right? You will get to know about this thing in very much detail, right? So that is the article that one should read from this question perspective. Then, as I mentioned in my previous session as well, when you appear for the interview, right, they focus more on networking part and security part, right? So it is like keep this thing in mind, that definitely you are going to face some security or management related or network related questions, right? You will definitely going to face, right? Like you can see, what is the secure way to connect your application, or secure way to connect your AWS server from your office network, right? When we work in production environment, we do not directly connect to the server from our office network, or let's say from our public network, right? We use jump server, or nowadays there is a SSM as well in EC2, right? If you are using Azure, right, you can use Bastion, right, where we not need to port open the RDP or SSS port, and we can connect securely to our production servers, right? Earlier we used to have the jump server in place, right? Or we make changes in the security group, right? We make changes in the security group and open the ports, right, or to a specific IP or to a specific range, right? Okay, from where we wanted to connect our application. So these are the things that you should take care in mind, right? Then now this question comes from the S3 part, right? Again, this is from S3, but this is not very simple question. Okay, as you see, right, they are asking like you need to access your S3 bucket from EC2 instance, which is in private subnet and not having internet connectivity. So remember this thing, it is not having the internet connectivity. What does it mean? That your EC2 is in private subnet. Private subnet means your EC2 will not have the internet gateway, and in this case as well, it will not have a net gateway as well. And now you wanted to connect to your S3 bucket. Remember, when we access S3 bucket, generally it go via the internet, right? Okay, and then we access our S3 bucket. Now, but in this case, the interviewer is asking you need to access your S3 bucket from EC2 instance, which is in private subnet, right? That is not having the internet connectivity, the internet gateway attached to it. So how you are going to achieve it? The first thing that one should be knowing, okay, one should be aware of, right? Then this is very basic thing. When we access S3 bucket from our EC2, it is not that you can directly access it, right? First of all, you need IAM role, right? That should have the S3 access, and then you will attach that with EC2. That is generally we do, right? But this is not suffice in this case. In this case, what we need to do, there is a concept that is known as the VPC endpoint, right? VPC endpoint, right, for S3, that you need to create in this case. And that, what is VPC endpoint? VPC endpoint is a mechanism to connect to your resources privately, right? Privately means it will not go via internet, it will go through the private channel, right? And when we create VPC endpoint, it also make changes in your route tables, and it associate add a new entry to your route table, right? So do uh, try to create one VPC endpoint, learn about the VPC endpoint, because this is must, right? Definitely you can face the question from this VPC endpoint perspective, right? Like as I said, VPC endpoint, VPC pairing, right? These are the questions that, like transit gateway, these are the questions that you generally face, right? Public and private subnet, right? So they will uh, ask the questions around this things only, right? So at least try to perform this VPC endpoint, because in this you will get two types of endpoint. One is gateway endpoint, other one is the interface endpoint, right? So do remember what is gateway endpoint and what is interface endpoint. And in S3 case, we use interface endpoint, right? Make sure you read about it and also try to perform the practical work of these. Then, again, as I discussed in the last session as well, right? They can ask you to draw two-tier application architecture, right? Okay. So if you are giving interview remotely, right? So they will not ask you to draw, right? Rather than they can ask you what thing, how you are going to, implement two-tier architecture, what is two-tier application architecture, right? How you are going to draw public and private subnet, right? What thing you will face where, right? So these things you should be aware of in terms of the architecture. Then this was the question that was asked at the end, right? Though I have mentioned it in between, right? So this is the aptitude kind of general awareness question, right? They asked, you have a 9 coins, and out of those 9 coins, right, 8 coins have equal weight, right? That means 8 have equal weight, let's say 1 gram of weight, right? And the ninth one has unequal weight, right? So you need to remove that ninth one, in uh, like uh, in very least attempt, right? So let's say, so I have, and they are giving the weighing scale as well. So you have the weighing scale. Okay, so let's say this is your weighing scale, right? This is your weighing scale, and you have 9 coins, right? Eight has equal weight, and you need to remove the the odd one out that has less weight, you can say, or that has the like higher weight than other eight, right? It could be lesser or higher, right? But that is not equal, right? So you have you have 9 coins, right? So how you can do that? You have like 9 coins. In first go, you can put four here and four here, right? If both have equal weight, right? Because you have a weighing scale, you can easily measure if the weight of both, right, okay, have equal. That means the ninth one is the odd one, right? If that is not the odd one, right, so either the odd one is in this one or on the right hand side, right? So let's say the odd one is here, right? Then again, what you can do, you can put two here and put two here, right? Again, you will get to know in which like weighing portion it is the odd one, right? Then again you will weigh, put one here and put one here, so you will get to know. So in minimum 3 attempts, right, it will take, right? In exceptional cases it will take one, right? Because if these two are equal, right, then that means the ninth one is the odd one. But if this is not the scenario, definitely it will take minimum three attempts. Then yes, again, network related questions, right? What is AWS Direct Connect and what is VPN, right? And why do we use AWS Direct Connect? What features it provides, right? Okay, and in what scenario we use VPN, right? So these are the things when one should be aware of, right? So I would advise you, right? So go to your VPC on AWS console, and on the left hand side here you will see like like route tables, internet gateway, VPC peering, right? A transit gateway, right? Or endpoints, right? So do go through all these stuff one by one, right? At least read and do the practical of those things. Like transit gateway, you cannot do practical. What is transit gateway? Transit gateway is used, like when you have multiple networks, right? And you wanted to manage all those networks from one single points, and you want that network to be routed from one single point, right? Let's suppose this is your office network, this is your VPC, this is office, this is VPC 1, this is VPC 2 in another region, right? This is VPC 3, this is your let's say home network, right? So here you will have DGW, right? And everything will be managed centrally from here. So this is what is the transit gateway. Like VPC peering. What is VPC peering? You have this VPC 1 and VPC 2. So you are like making a connection so that the resources in one VPC can communicate with other and vice versa. So this is how the things work in the networking. So do go through all these areas, not questions. Focus on areas and start preparing for the interview. Thanks, everyone.